Welcome to the Checkered Floor Garage. This is the Kawasaki Vulcan 750 Maintenance and Service Series. And over the past month, I've been working on troubleshooting and fixing an issue I've had with my shifting mechanism, specifically my ability to downshift, where after I would downshift, the shift lever would not come back up to the neutral state like that. Along my journey, I've learned a lot of different things about the shift lever, all of the associated parts with it. So I'm going to talk about a lot of different potential issues along with their fixes in this video. And also, if you got the same issue as me, where when your shift lever, when it gets pushed down, it doesn't come back up, I'll also show you for the second half of this video how I fix that. Let's start up here at the front with the shift lever, and then we'll kind of move our way back and get to eventually the Pawl case in there and talk about the shift drum and everything and the issue that I had. But to start, you want to have little to no in and out play, kind of like towards camera and away from camera, left and right of the motorcycle. You want to have no play in this shift lever and this shaft here that it gets connected to. If you do have an issue with this on your bike, you want to check out the circlips inside of the case. I'm going to remove this bottom pickup coil, and I'm going to use this endoscope to show you what those circlips look like. However, unfortunately, you can't fix the circlips without tilting or otherwise removing the engine out of the frame, because there's not enough space to get this stator case cover cleared away from the frame. You see there's a circlip further away from camera, and then there's one closer. They're black in color, and like I said, they hold this shaft in play. So if you've had maybe the bike drop or some other issue could have caused these circlips to become dislodged or break, thereby causing the play that you see in your shift shaft. Next, I'm going to talk about the piece called the tie rod, which connects this shift shaft all the way back here to your pawl and your gear selector. The tie rod is kind of like inside this part of the motorcycle engine. In order to show you the tie rod, I'm going to get my endoscope here, and I've removed this case cover for the pawl, and there is a little hole in the bottom left of this area, like underneath the pawl shaft. I'll show you that, and then I'll show you the tie rod. All right, so up above here where I'm shining the light is your pawl, which engages the shift drum to change the gears. And then down below, you see that hole down there? I'm going to put my endoscope in there and show you what to look for with your tie rod to make sure that that's in good condition. As I engage the shift lever down and up and down and up, you'll see that tie rod kind of move in and out. You want to make sure that it's straight, it's not bent, nothing is broken, nothing looks overly loose. All right, so next and lastly, we get here to this Pawl case. I'll show you a little bit about how the smooth and proper operation works, and then I'll kind of talk about some other common issues, and then ultimately the issue that I had. When you put the shift lever down to go into first, the Pawl selector goes up, engages with your shift drum, and then that's first. You release, and the pawl kind of slides left and right to kind of return back to that neutral state. And then now to go up into neutral, shift lever goes up, pawl goes down, neutral. First, neutral, first, neutral. You want to look for smooth operation. Everything is straight, everything engages properly. Here, let me zoom in for a little bit. Now, unfortunately, there isn't enough space at all to get this case cover off. However, I was able to do my diagnosis and my fix with this case just kind of hanging in the way. So that's good. But getting back to the pawl, you want to notice that it doesn't have any in and out play. So I'm pulling and pushing, and it's nice and solid. If I push left and right, it slides smoothly. There's not too little or too much resistance. And then when it engages with the shift drum, it engages fully all the way to the right. so it's not like missing any teeth, like, I don't know, like if, for example, the pawl didn't fully engage, maybe you could be missing teeth that way. And I'll talk about that potential fix. But just to kind of keep showing you how this works, again, going down into first. So we got this opening right there is for first gear, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So while you're here, if you're having any issues, check the condition of your shift drum. I think this piece is called. You notice on mine, here, let me see, I'm in first. Let me go back up to neutral. So with this being first gear here, and then second and third, notice the amount of wear of this point of the star, if you will, on the shift drum. Notice the wear there compared to between third and fourth, and then fourth and fifth. They're kind of like more pointed tips of the star. And I think that's just common on this motorcycle, and I don't know, maybe most motorcycles out there, because you're spending a lot of time shifting between second and third, and maybe less time going between fourth and fifth. I don't know, just something to check on with your motorcycle. If these, tips of the star are overly worn, you'll want to replace this shift drum right there. Something else that you want to check is the in and out play of the overall Pawl shaft. And I'll show you what that looks like with an eBay part that I have. But I just got this pick here, and I'm going to get behind the Pawl, and I'm going to pull and push. Okay, that's the only amount of play that I have. From my research into my downshifting issue, I think this amount of play is normal. But again, just something to check as you're troubleshooting any kind of shifting problems that you have with your Vulcan. Here's a part that I ordered on eBay to help me with my issues and my troubleshooting. It's the Pawl along with the shaft. You notice it's one piece, it's welded in there. And so a couple more things to check. Again, I mentioned the smooth operation left and right of the Pawl, which enables this Pawl to be able to engage with that shift drum. And then the mechanism that allows for that is this, I'm going to call it a shepherd's hook, this kind of spring here. And I'll come back to this hook because this ended up being the root cause of my issue. Or maybe not the root cause, but I was able to do something with this to fix my downshifting issue. I'll get to that for the second part of the video. But just to keep with talking about common troubleshooting items, you want to check out this spring, make sure that it's engaged smoothly and nothing has kind of fallen out of place. You'll notice that it kind of like clips in behind the Pawl right there. And then it also clips into the shaft kind of right down there. And then something else is this yellow return spring. This return spring allows this shaft to come back to the neutral state. All right, so down and up, it just allows it to return back into the neutral state so you can keep upshifting or downshifting. And behind the Pawl is this post. So if you're having any issues with the return spring, you'll want to check that the top and bottom arm are attached to the post, and just in general that this spring is in good condition and nothing is broken or cracked. Lastly, with this shaft, you'll notice that there's threads here. If you have excessive, I don't know, wobbling or anything with this shaft, or if this is overly loose, then there's a nut behind here that kind of holds this all in place, and the only way to get to that nut is to drop the motor and split it open. All right, so that covers the first half of the video, which is basically everything that I've learned on my way to troubleshoot my issue. Now let me talk a little bit more about the specifics of what my issue was. I'll show you kind of like what was happening. And then I'll talk more about this shepherd's hook and how I was able to fix my downshifting issue. The issue is that as I was riding, like in the middle of my ride, I was able to upshift smoothly. Okay, so this is what the bike looks like, bike off, engine still a little bit hot, in neutral. Up is good, but then down, she don't come back up. Next, let me see if I can't get this on video to see what this looks like. Okay, so right there, it's stuck in second, and it just won't go down. It won't go down in the first. And there we go. So I was just able to get it down to the first. So now a little click up, and I'm pretty sure that's neutral. Let me check. Yeah, that's neutral. One more update, something I was just able to notice as I was doing some more test driving around the subdivision to try to understand this problem more. I was driving, second gear, slow speed. I came to a stop in my subdivision, stop sign, and I just sat there. I shifted down to first, clutch in, and I was just waiting for cars, just sitting there. And I noticed that the shift lever, when I was in first, it just kind of moved up. So I'm going to try to show that on camera. Right now, the bike is in neutral. I'm going to start the bike. I'm going to shift down into first. I'm going to hold in the clutch. And you're going to see the shift lever kind of come up on its own. So this issue that I'm going to be talking about in this video is just about the shifter lever, which right now it's not coming back up like that. As you can see from the sight glass, the oil is now drained. I'm going to remove some bolts here, holding on this case. First, I'm going to start with this bracket that's holding on this clutch cable. This bolt is for the stator case over here. It's not holding in this case that we got to remove, but I still want this bracket out of the way. So I'm going to start by removing this 8mm bolts, and they're all 8mm. And then you've got 1, 2, 3 over here. There's 2 hidden under here. 4 and 5 are here. And then 6 is right here. 7, of course, is the bracket. So I'm going to remove 7 8mm bolts in total. Do take special consideration that some of these bolts are different lengths. So what I'm going to call bolt 1, and I'll show you what that looks like. Bolt 1 is over here, and then 2, 3, 4, etc. Bolt 2 looks to be a little bit longer, plus it's got this bracket there. It's got like this area that has no threads. Bolt 4 also is a little bit longer and has an area of no threads. So I'm going to keep the bolts in a safe place and organize them by order, starting with number 1. Number 1 I'm calling is this one on the stator case that was holding in your clutch cable bracket. Number 2 was here. Number 2 also had a smaller bracket. And then number 3, 4, etc. going around clockwise. Before I remove this cover here, it doesn't look like there's much clearance between being able to remove this cover and this linkage here of your clutch cable. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it from here. There's this nut right here. But before I remove this assembly, I'm just going to mark it in red here so I know exactly where the splines should be aligned. There's probably a marking already here with this gap, but again, I just want to make this nice and simple for myself for serious assembly. This is a 10mm bolt right here. There's kind of like a little notch behind here at bolt 4, so I'm going to try to get on the other side of the Vulcan over there, and with a plastic pry bar and a little mallet, I'm going to try to tap out this side cover using that notch. Okay, got it. And then from there, I'm just going to try to wiggle it off. There we go. Beautiful. And then before reassembly, you would just want to get either an OEM gasket. Right here, it's part number 11060-1091. Or you can do some black gasket maker. What I'll be using is actually both of them, the gasket and the gasket maker, in combination. All right, so now getting on to the fix, the thing that has been grounding my bike for the past month. I was able to adjust the spring tension of this shepherd hook, because once I got this part in eBay, and once I kind of like got my hands on it and kind of understood how it worked outside of the motorcycle with more flexibility to just, operate with it and look at it, I was able to take out this return spring here. And then just to see this shepherd hook spring out of the eBay Pawl, and I put it in my motorcycle, and the issue got worse. So I noticed that, well, first off, I took the shepherd hook out of my bike, and I kind of compared them, and I noticed that the eBay shepherd hook had more tension. It was harder to depress, kind of like when the Pawl was going in and out, it came back out with more force. So I figured if it came back with more force and that spring was harder and the issue got worse, well, then how about what if we detension the shepherd hook? So I squeezed in my shepherd hook here, the one on the right, to kind of give it less oomph, still enough to operate the pawl left and right nice and smoothly. And I put it back in, and the issue got significantly better. I'd say like 95% or more. It's very hard for me to get the shifter kind of stuck down in the downspace without having to come up. So that's the fix that I did. If you've got any kind of issue similar to me, check this out first. You can do this just by draining the oil, removing the cover, and then getting your fingers in there and getting this clip out. You don't got to do any other digging around with the engine. So next and last, just to kind of show you how this goes back in, it's of course easier to do it on the piece outside the bike, but you can't get the piece out without digging open the engine, so we're just going to have to make do. Put in the right side of the hook first, and then I kind of, with my hands, I get in there and squeeze it in that way. Again, easy on this piece. It's going to be a little bit trickier on the motorcycle, but it's the same exact concept. It's not going to be possible to show it all that well on camera, but to start, I'm just going to move the pawl all the way to the right with my finger, and then I'm going to go in there, put this part of the shepherd hook in first, and I'm doing this all blind. Okay, so once I got that right part of the shepherd's hook in, I just use my middle finger and I squeeze the left part, and then I pivot the whole assembly to the left, and there we go. So once again, this is what the operation of the pawl looks like. My spring tension is just a little bit less than before, but it still allows the pawl to operate completely to the left, completely to the right, downshift into first, up into neutral, and everything works beautifully. Before, there was, I guess, too much tension on that shepherd hook spring, such that it was causing the pawl to get hung up on the shift tooth right there. Once I was in this space when I was riding, I couldn't downshift any further because the pawl wouldn't return back to then grab the next gear to downshift into. I don't know what caused the need for me to detension this shepherd's hook spring here. But then again, the bike's fixed and it doesn't really matter. I'm going to keep a close eye on it and make sure that the issue doesn't come back. The bike is almost old enough to be able to drink at the time of filming this video. It's almost 21 years old and it's got nearly 30,000 miles on it. So the fact that I was able to fix it just by detensioning the spring and by purchasing a $9 part on eBay, that's a win in my books. If you got any other comments, let me know. Let me know if I missed something, if I can keep an eye out for something in the future. I'll link down in the description below some even more footage of me showing off the issue, showing off the troubleshooting process, and I'll link the post to the Vulcan 750 forum to give you a lot more detail, information, kind of like my methodology, if you come across the same issue as I do. As always, thank you for watching and have a good one.